We are back and we are in the middle of one of the most exciting times in wrestling. We are just days away from All In Wembley 2, a couple weeks away from Bash in Berlin. We had another good episode of Monday Night Raw, and we are here to break it all down for you once again on Top Rope Takes. I'm Jason Marcus alongside Willie the Thrill. Will, what is going on, my man?
I'm doing well, of course. Exciting week ahead. All in. It's the 1 year anniversary of Brawl In. And so, of course, I
Yeah,
had to wear my CM Punk shirt, which, by the way,
yeah,
is Taylor Swift for men. I can
that's right.
confirm that.
That's correct.
So, I'm excited. This week's
Does that
exciting.
make Drew McIntyre the Travis Kelsey?
I don't know, man. I think that makes AJ Lee the Travis
Yeah, that's
Kelsey,
probably
if
a better
anything.
actor. Yeah.
But yeah, maybe Drew McIntyre's like the Charlie XCX of
Mm.
WWE in that
You know, I'm
case.
getting old and I don't get that reference. So
That's all
that's
right. Someone out there will. My sister will appreciate that one.
there you go. Yeah, so we had a good episode of Monday Night Raw. We're gonna wait a little bit to get into that because the headline, of course, is All In is this weekend, All In 2 in Wembley Stadium. We've been a little bit down on AEW. I think that's fair to say over the past couple of weeks. But the one thing I will say is like, no matter what I feel about their TV, their pay-per-views always deliver. So I love watching AEW pay-per-views. Quite frankly, if I could, I would just watch their pay-per-views. I'm very excited for All In. I'm not going to be able to watch it live because I'm going to be going to a concert, but I will be watching it a couple days later. I'm going to get the results. I'm not going to stay off my phone, but I'll be watching it a couple days later. But don't worry, I'll be able to recap it with you for next week. Um, but yeah, I think we should just jump right into it. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, let's go into these all in predictions. I am excited for this show. I know like we've been on and off about Dynamite, but there have been some good programs and just the atmosphere of being at Wembley Stadium
Yeah.
is always exciting. So I'm very much looking forward to the show. And I do think this card is a stronger card than last year's all in. So I will give that props for that.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't really remember, to be honest, anything that happened on last year's show except for Brawl In. So I know CM Punk and Samoa Joe,
I
which I
like the
think,
MJF Adam Cole. I thought their main event was strong, but I think
yeah,
everything in between was just it was more about being at Wembley than say the
yes.
matches
Like
that took
if you were
place.
to, but like if before you said that, I probably couldn't even have told you the main event, which I guess is the whole issue, right? It was that Brawl In overshadowed everything.
Right.
But anyway, we're not talking about last year. We're talking about this year. All In two. I mean, technically it's three, but All In two in Wembley. All right, let's dive right into it. We got a couple really pre-show matches, or at least they should be pre-show matches to start off with. First, we have a mixed tag match between Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Willow Nightingale and Tamahiro Ishii. This must have been like a program that's been building over on like Rampage and Collision because I have not seen anything on Dynamite about all this. But just looking at the two teams, I feel incredibly unbalanced. So I
You don't say.
um, so I'm gonna go ahead here and say that the big baby faces get a win. Willow Nightingale and the Stone Pitbull get a win over Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway, which is unfortunate because I think Statlander with our new heel character really needs a big win, but I don't see this being the spot. I think Stokely gets crushed here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they've been building like this storyline on like Collision and Rampage, but they did have the match on Dynamite, which Statlander did win. So it
Mm,
does make sense why they would do this match to give Willow a win, and then it'll build to their championship match at All Out.
mm.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to get the crowd going, good babyface win, get everyone excited. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to Ishii and Stokely Hathaway,
Yeah,
whatever interact. I don't know what the heck they're gonna do, but that's gonna be entertaining as all hell because I do love Stokely Hathaway. I wish there was more Stokely Hathaway,
yeah.
but
He's a
yeah, very
great
much looking forward
manager.
to it. Oh, I love him. I think every time he's on screen and cutting a promo, he just got that fire in him.
Yeah,
I,
his
I just love.
eyes.
He's just a great talker, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in ring because I feel like we don't see that often. So
I was gonna ask, is Stokely a wrestler?
he has, I think, a wrestling background. Like I think he can wrestle, but
Mm,
like I think he's more of a manager than anything.
okay,
I remember seeing him on the NXT Combine, and they like had him do like Combine stuff, and they every time he would come up, they'd be like, "Well, Stokely's actually," or what did they call him at the time? What was his NXT name?
Oh,
Malcolm Bivens.
yes.
Anytime Malcolm Bivens would come out, he'd be like, Malcolm Bivens is here for a managerial role. And then so is why he was like, if he was benching, it'd be like 100 pounds less
Yeah,
than anyone
right.
else. But
Yeah.
you know, he definitely found his role here. He's
Okay.
definitely a much better talker than anyone at that combine was. So it makes sense why he's in a
But
managerial
he's
role at
trained.
this
He's not
point.
like Paul
He is
Heyman out
trained.
here.
No, no,
Okay.
no. I don't think they're going to do anything crazy either, but
No.
he is trained. I think he can take a bump. And
Yeah.
you know what? If you're going to do a match, have it be at Wembley Stadium. So
Yeah.
good for him.
Right. So, well, there you go. Good for him. Up next, we have the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. So this is a little interesting because the winner of this, you presumably is going to face the winner of Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson at All Out. But also, we know from this past week on Dynamite that the winner of that match has to go through Pac first. So a little confusing, I feel like. Or no, Pac is Pac going for MJF and Will Ospreay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
that
already
makes.
confused.
There's too many belts.
But yeah.
Okay, so then this makes sense, and this is pretty linear then. So okay, so Pac is out of the picture. Ignore that. What a match we have, Will. Number one contender to determine the challenger for the AEW World Championship. I think because of what I just said, the winner of this is going to be facing the winner of Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson at All Out. I think that makes this pretty easy. There's a glaring superstar not on the card, but go for it, Will. What's that?
I is that confirmed that it's going to be at All Out, or is it like the casino chip where you could like call your shot
Oh,
wherever?
that's a good
Because they
call.
call it a casino gauntlet, and I was wondering if that was the case. I know it's not like a ladder match, so they're not going to actually have
No,
like
we
the
have one
chip
years
the way
later.
like MJF had like 2 years ago or
Yeah.
so. But I'm curious to see if it is like the all out match or if it's, I mean, they could do that. That's fine. But it doesn't, for what I predict happening, I don't know if they go right into that program at all out. I do think, as far as surprises, you did mention like who's going to show up. I think the obvious name that's been coming up is Ricochet.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. I wasn't thinking
because
Ricochet.
really, okay.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm
to
curious
be
to
in
hear
it,
what you.
yes, but not to win.
Not to win. I think he'll be in. I think what happens is Orange Cassidy comes out. He's number one because he
Correct.
won that triple threat match on Dynamite to get the one spot, which is interesting because I like how they do this casino gauntlet where it's the first pinfall wins the match. So going in first is technically an advantage because you're in there the whole match. You could get a pinfall whenever,
Oh,
meaning
interesting.
if you're like, let's say you have like a later entry, yeah, you can come in, swoop in later in the
You'd be
match on like
fresher,
more one
but
out. You can be fresher, but you could also not even get into the match
yeah,
and lose that way. But
it's interesting in theory, but also it's pro wrestling. Like you're not going to not have people enter the match. You know what I mean?
yeah, I thought it was like a cool like double edged sword where it's like yeah,
Yeah.
Cassie could start, and also with his run as international champion, like he kind of has that endurance factor that's kind of built into his
Yeah.
character. But I think it would be a great way to start with Orange Cassidy, and then you go right into a big surprise. Number two, Ricochet comes out, and everyone's going, "Oh my gosh!" You got Ricochet with like one of AEW's real
Yeah.
staples in Orange Cassidy, so it's already like you're getting a WWE versus AEW kind of crossover
It's a great call.
deal. So I think that's how I could see the match starting. I think another surprise, we are in Wembley. We're in the British independent wrestling scene. Love to see Grado out there and
Grado.
definitely get the rights to the song. I'm gonna get killed for not knowing what the song is, but when you call my name,
Yeah.
because last year he just came out to Big Show's theme, and I'm like, that's not what people want. People want to
Yeah.
sing along to the
You
the
got to
song.
give them what they want.
Yeah, so I think you got to have, if they're going to do that, then you got to have him in there. Who did you expect to see as like a surprise in there?
I really wasn't thinking too much along the lines of surprises. Because to be honest, I can't completely forget like the structure of this match because I feel like they've met multiple different types of like how this works. Usually, they used to do the thing where it was like the four aces and the four hearts. Is that this?
No, no, no. This is like what they've been doing on Dynamite, where um they start with two and then like entries come in, but it's just the first to a pinfall, which is why
Gotcha.
getting there in the beginning is kind of
Ya.
like worth it. Because like if it was like if Orange Cassidy was entering first in like the casino battle royal,
It's not
that
an
would be
advantage.
stupid. Yeah, it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
an
That's why I
advantage.
was confused.
That would
Why
be
do you
like
want
a
to be number
match.
one?
Yeah, exactly. You'd want to be the Joker at that point.
Yes.
But this is just all the idea of this match is that people keep coming out until there's a
Right.
winner.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think surprises Ricochet. I think is a really great shot to be him, not, for him to be number two and get that moment with him and Orange Cassidy, just have a one-on-one match for a little bit. Someone else that I think could potentially show up in, if not this match, potentially another match that we'll get to is another recent free agent, one Mr. Bobby Lashley. Uh,
Oh, I like. Wait a second. I like that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I like that a lot.
um, so I don't know. I mean, I kind of Bobby Lashley to me doesn't really fit in AEW. Like he really feels like a WWE or Impact guy, but who knows?
I will say if they do end up getting Bobby Lashley, this is why I wasn't even thinking about Bobby Lashley in this match because I think if they do get Bobby Lashley, I think it's got to be for something bigger than just he
Yeah,
gets a spot in the
and
casino
he's getting
battle.
thrown out.
Now, MVP. I wouldn't mind seeing
Maybe.
that as a casino entry, and then
Yeah.
maybe that leads into adding Bobby later.
Yeah. I think the one other person other than the winner is guaranteed to be there. It's not really a surprise because I think he's signed to AEW, but I think Dynamite Kid's obviously going to be in this, right? To have that
Oh
big
yeah, that would
moment
be cool.
at
I would like
Wembley.
to see that. Dynamite
So,
Kid in there. I do think though, with surprise or not surprise, I think the AEW guy who ultimately wins this match is none of the names we mentioned. I think Hangman's going to enter this
yeah.
match
Yeah,
and
100%.
Hangman's going to win.
Heck,
It
he's
just
got
seems
nothing
like
else on the card.
he's had nothing else. You can't not have like they put Hangman on every show and he's not on the card. It's kind of obvious that like
Yeah.
he's going to be in this match somehow. And
Yeah.
you can tease like I mean, I think people will get fooled into like being like, "Oh, well, if Ricochet shows up, wow, like he's,
Mm-hmm.
going crazy. There's a good chance he wins the match." But if Hangman shows up, everyone's going to be like, "All right, match is over. Hangman's pretty
Yeah.
much got this on lock."
No,
So,
I think it's without question Hangman Page. I think it'll be a fun match, an entertaining match, but the outcome to me is very predictable, which is fine, especially if it leads into All Out. And I don't know if that's confirmed, but it's only like 2 weeks after the fact, so you know,
yeah.
makes
I agree
sense.
with you though. I think this is actually one of my more hyped matches
Yeah, I
on All
love
In.
a good battle royal.
I would say like top three because I do like when they've done the casino gauntlets on Dynamite. I think it's super entertaining, and I think it's
Yeah.
like a special. It's also unique to AEW. Like no other wrestling promotion does this style of match where they do the people coming out and then first to a fall, and then you get to see all these great wrestlers interact with each other. And
Mm.
it's interesting because they've had. I feel like they've had the crutch in the past matches they've done where they have Will Ospreay involved. So I think if they're going to do that, obviously they have Orange Cassidy, who's going to be entertaining and fun to interact with in this match. But I think having Ricochet in there will also be like a real anchor of this match. Because then if Ricochet starts, I think one of the draws will be like, oh, this person entered. What's he
Versus
going to do with
Ricochet.
Ricochet? Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. A hologram. Can we see Ricochet and hologram? Can we
You're gonna see
confirm
it.
that
You're
they're
gonna
not
see
the
it.
same person in this match?
Did you see the report that hologram is like Tony Khan's creator wrestler?
That I mean, that's hilarious. Dude, is hologram like am I crazy? Like, is this like a wrestler that existed before AEW on like AAA or something?
I don't
Or
know for certain, but I think the report was that it was some luchador that Tony Khan paid and signed to become a hologram in AEW.
okay, because I was watching the Four Pillars match, and I'm not gonna lie, there's something interesting about this hologram fella and how he correlates with Sammy Guevara.
Well, Sammy's currently doing something else,
He's
so
doing something else. What is he doing? I don't know. Oh, he's in ROH, right? I don't.
he's a tag champion now with Dustin Rhodes for God knows why.
Is it? I thought that was the Von Erichs.
He's both.
He's both. Okay,
He's triples with the
that tells you
Von.
how much I know about
Yeah,
ROH right
he's
now.
yeah.
Because I was like, wait a second, like everyone's wondering who this hologram guy is. He kind of just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
But if
be
that's the case,
hilarious.
I buy that it's
Yeah,
Tony Khan paying some luchador to be his own creation. That's kind of cool. I
yeah,
like
I
that.
love that. All right, let's move on a little bit. We both agree Hangman's going to win that. Up next, we have a four-way ladder match, trios ladder match. 12 people in this freaking ladder match for the trios title. We have the defending champions, the Patriarchy, Christian Cage, Killswitch, and the Prodigy, Nick Wayne, defending against the Bang Bang Gang of Juice Robinson and the Guns, Austin and Colton Gunn. No Jay White. important to note for some reason, versus the House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, versus a wild card team, TBD. This team is supposedly going to earn their way into the ladder match at Collision on this coming Saturday. A lot of speculation about who this other team is and whether or not they're actually going to pick up the win here. I guess before we go into our winner, Will, any initial thoughts on who this trio could be?
Well, before I get into who I think the trio might be, I just got to say, like, we just saw a 12-person ladder match at WrestleMania. And
Mm-hmm.
after the match, my first thought was, that was fun, but I never need to see 12 people in a ladder match again. That's just
Yeah.
way too many people. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess Tony Khan did not learn from that. So he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it in here. And it's chaotic. I think you got a lot of, I mean, you have some good anchors in here, like Christian Cage has been in a ton of ladder matches.
Mm-hmm.
You have Malachi Black, Brody King. I think before predicting who the team is, I do think we're going to get Mother Wayne climbing the ladder at some point, which
Yes.
will be a hilarious spot. It's just be like a la Maurice
Mm-hmm.
2010 Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Just everyone's down and Mother Wayne's kind of looking around. It's funny because her graphic, she has like a trios championship. She's acknowledged as one of the
Mm-hmm.
trios champions. So it'd be cool to get her in and, figure out something that way.
Yeah.
As far as the wild card, like, is there any trio that like really stands out to you? Could it be Dustin and the Von Erichs, like
Could
just thrown
be.
in there? But that's kind of lame because they just split up the ROH and the AEW Trios champions. So are they gonna throw them
Yeah.
in the match and tease that they combine the championships again? I don't know. But I'm trying to think of other trios out there. The Top Flight is probably in a team with Leo Rush. That would be a cool team to have in there for a ladder match. Do they throw in like it? Like I don't know what's going on with the Motor City Machine Guns. I keep throwing
Yeah.
fantasy booking them in both
Yeah. Right.
both companies, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see for that one. I wouldn't want them to be thrown in there. It would be kind of a throwaway thing.
Yeah. I
Is
don't.
this the Hurt Business? Do we get Bobby, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin all
That
coming in at
is
once?
that is one of the things I saw on Reddit was
I
that.
don't like them debuting on Collision though to win this match. Like they
Yeah.
should be an all-in surprise.
Yeah.
Also, Jay White, you mentioned he's not in there. I could see Jay White being in that Casino Gauntlet as like a big tease
Mm-hmm.
of him potentially. Like if he goes in there and he shows out, I might be like, oh, Jay White.
Yeah. He needs a
That's pretty
singles
cool.
push. He's been great.
Yeah, he really fell off after that MJF Jay
Yeah.
White match. I think that might have killed his singles run in AEW. But
Yeah. He's not that far.
it is what it is. He could easily
He'll
recover
bounce
if you
back.
give him a solid push.
Yeah. You know what I'm noticing that someone else who doesn't have a match on here? They did not make maybe it's official and I just missed it. But well, I'll talk about it after this. Anyway, I think the winner is the patriarchy, regardless of who the wild card team is. I just don't know of any team that you're going to throw in there and make it super compelling. I think you got to reward Christian Cage, and then with a big win at Wembley, Christian Cage has done incredible work for about 2 years now. So he's a top heel in the company. Give him a win.
Yeah. Based on my other predictions as well, I think Patriarchy walks out here with the win for like a big heel win because I
Mm-hmm.
think they're going to kind of split it up. I think this is a good way to get the heel win over. I don't see Bang Bang Gang and House of Black winning this and it being interesting at all. The wild card team would be the real wild card for,
Quick,
lack of a
yeah.
better phrase. Because if it's someone intriguing, then I could see them walking in and winning the titles. But if it's just some one to
Mm-hmm.
get in there for flashy spots like a Top Flight Leo Rush team, then I think it's patriarchy all the way.
Cool. Real quick after this, this match I did not see is official for All In yet. Maybe it'll become official later this week. But Okada and Claudio.
That's happening on Dynamite
Okay.
tomorrow. So that, and you know what? Here's what I was going to say. This is the main point I want to make. 10 matches, perfect length for all. Like,
Yeah.
I think 10 matches is a great amount of matches, especially for AEW who likes to go,
Mhm.
really like go crazy with the matches. I think 10 is perfect. I think you get your money's worth as a fan by getting 10 matches. You get to see a lot of people you want to see on the All In card. And I like that they're giving a spotlight for Okada and Claudio on Dynamite as like its own thing. It's going to be like the big match going
Yeah.
in, kind of like how WWE had like a big, they had the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match
Yeah.
before SummerSlam, and then they did the White Six match after SummerSlam. Like, you don't need to load up these cards
Hmm.
with just a ton of matches. Just do like a big match the day, like the week before, a big match the week after, or in this case, you're doing a big match on Dynamite, a big match on Collision, and then
Yeah.
you have just 10 matches solid for All In. I think this is a sweet spot for AEW
I
as far as
agree.
match card.
This had me thinking though about someone else we didn't mention in the Battle Royal earlier that we haven't seen in a little bit. Could we see the return of John Moxley?
I would like that's another good one where like if he shows up, like then you start to think, whoa, wait a second, this is a real contender to throw in.
Hmm.
And I would love to see Hangman and Moxley go face to face because of their history. I think that'd be a really cool moment at All
Yeah.
In. And honestly, if he does return, like I would think like, oh, Moxley's got kind of a chance here.
Oh, for sure.
Like, especially if Danielson comes out the winner, then I could see Danielson Mox as like kind of like a rematch BCC style
Yeah, at all
in
in.
there. And then
Uh,
I could also see, depending on how they feel about this, like if they want to double up, I could see Okada or Claudio entering the Casino
for
Gauntlet
sure.
and having a
I
shot
think
at
they'll
it.
both be in there, especially if their matches on Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean that gauntlet match going to be stacked,
Yeah, all of a
man.
sudden it's
If
looking
all of these
great.
names are in there, like man, I'm looking forward to that one.
All right, so we have official production for the ladder match. Are you going TBD?
Yeah, I'm going patriarchy.
All
I
right,
think that's the safer bet right now.
cool. All right, next another match that is confirmed for All In. We have the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho with the Big Redwood and the Bad Apple taking on Hook. I
I'm
mean,
glad you do the nicknames because I totally would have butchered that
yeah,
for these
I knew
guys.
the nicknames. I couldn't think of the real names though. I was
Okay.
like, oh crap, what is
Big
W
Bill and
Morrissey? Big Bill, yeah.
W Morris, yes, impact name.
Yeah.
W Morrissey.
So bad. Big Bill. I don't know. Big Bill's not that much better, but
It's short and sweet, and it gets the
yeah.
point across. And of course,
Yeah.
Brian Keith, the outlaw.
Yeah,
So
so bad. I like Jericho in this role. His two goons are just goons to me. Um anyway, Jericho and Hook in Wembley. It's gonna be a good match. But I'm taking the young gun here. It's Hook's time, baby. Put him fine. It's been too long. He needs something to sink his teeth into. He needs to beat Jericho decisively. And then he needs to go into like a TNT title picture.
yeah, 100%. I mean, depending on who the TNT champion is, I don't know if I necessarily want to see go in that picture, but
Mhm.
I mean, international championship picture or all, American,
Yeah,
depending
that
on
might be
what
big.
happens
That
in
might be
that match.
bigger for him.
I think he needs to take a bigger step than just kind of toiling where he is with the FTW
Yeah.
TNT championship. Because I kind of see them kind of in a similar like mid card to lower mid card scene, whereas I
Yes.
see like the Continental Championship and International Championship as like upper mid card titles.
Yeah.
So I hope, I mean, if he wins, he's going to have this FTW championship. So I almost I don't know. Like I want him to win because I think he needs the win over Jericho, but I'm kind of done with Hook in this FTW championship scene.
Yeah.
So I do hope if he does beat Jericho, like it's just a nice short sweet run and then he could just move on to something else. As long as he gets out to I know they make jokes about it, but it is very much a real thing, the Jericho vortex. Like I think he just needs to step out and be in a more exciting program.
Yeah. I honestly would not hate it if they had Hook win and then they kind of just retired the FTW championship. I think it holds people back more than it does anything else because like it's not a legitimate championship. And there's only so much storyline you can build around that. And I kind of feel like ending it with Taz's kid is about as good of a full story arc as you're gonna get with it. Because if you're gonna keep it around in television, who are you passing it off to? Like nobody, it's not gonna do anything more than it's gonna do for Hook.
Yeah, and like with the FTW championship, we're looking at 4 mid card titles in the men's division.
Yeah.
Like that's just way too many.
Yeah.
I like even 3 is kind of a lot, but if
Three's
you
a lot.
retire the FT and the FTW championship was introduced when AEW didn't have those mid card
Yeah.
titles to like supplement. Now that they have the international championship or the American championship, and they also have the continental championship, I think you're 100% right on with that. Like they just need to retire this belt.
Yeah. I will say there's one moment in this match that I'm looking forward to. And I hope we get a Taz mission on
Oh,
Chris Jericho.
yes. By Taz, right?
Yeah, by
Is what I'm saying.
Taz.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I 100% agree. I think we need Taz to, this UK crowd would go absolutely nuts if
Yeah.
Taz puts in the Taz mission on Jericho, or even if he does it on like Brian Keith or even
Yeah.
Big Bill.
But
Like
he's
it's
got to
just
get
gonna be
involved,
awesome.
right? He's been involved in the story. So,
Yeah, they've been building up to that, and it would be a great moment for Taz. So
mhm.
100%.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So, are we both on the same page? Hook winning here? Or?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hook. I think that's solid, especially if they retire the belt afterwards. That would be a very nice
Yeah.
way to cap things off for the FTW championship.
Right. Next, we have the Young Bucks defending their AEW Tag Team Championship in a triple threat or trios tag match versus FTR and the Acclaimed. FTR and the Acclaimed went to a no DQ this week on Collision, and the Young Bucks are the EVPs. So they can do whatever they want. Um, I'm not super invested in this match. I'm kind of this is one of those things where the Acclaim to me have just been like shoehorned into this for something just because they need something to do. They've lost the Acclaimed have lost a lot of steam in like the past year, and I don't really know how much is their fault, but that's the reality of it all. Anyway, it'll be a fine match, but I'm taking the Young Bucks to retain.
Yeah, I think the Young Bucks retain as well. It'll be I like the triple threat element of this, but I think it's clear like this they've only had a few title defenses anyway, and they're clearly like a main part of the show. Um, the Young Bucks, I think, will retain here. The FTR won last year, so that's kind of why I'm not thinking FTR is going to
Yeah,
win. And I don't really, if they were going to give the Acclaim the belts, like you might as well have just done it last week in a singles match.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, I'm thinking Young Bucks retain. I'm looking for. I think it'll be a fun match,
for
but
sure.
I think you know
Not a ton of story here that I'm invested in.
nothing crazy. And it'll just be a kind of like a okay, it was there. I feel like with what's going on in All In and this whole card, like it'll kind of be like one of those matches where it'll be good in the moment, but it'll be forgotten about
Yeah,
kind of afterwards because
for
of
sure.
everything else that
Just gonna get
happened on
lost in the
the card.
shuffle. No pun
Yes,
intended.
right.
All right. After that, we have Jack Perry defending the TNT Championship against Darby Allin in a now a coffin match. This is Darby Allin's. I don't think Darby Allin's ever lost a coffin match, if
I
I'm
looked
correct.
this up. He has never lost a coffin match. He's 4-0. He
4
won
0.
last year. The last coffin match he had was last year at All In when he teamed up with
If you
Sting.
gave me 10 minutes, I couldn't tell you who it was against.
Really? It is a tough combination. Do you want to give it a swing?
I'll give it a string. Darby Allin in a coffin match against somebody at All In last year. Or it was
Yes.
clearly a heel. Ricky Starks. No.
And who? It was a team. So
Oh, okay.
this is
Big.
Darby and Sting versus these two, which I
Oh,
maybe
Ricky
will
and
give you a hint.
Big Bill.
No.
Was it? Yeah. They were in a
It's
tag
it's
team.
an unorthodox team. I'll tell you that. It's two guys
It
who
was not
don't
Big
normally
Bill.
team. It was not Big Bill. It was not Ricky
Jeez.
Starks. It was neither one of them.
Oh God.
Think
Um.
about who Darby was feuding with at this time.
Yeah, that's the issue, dude. Um.
I'll give you
Ricky
like
and Sting versus a heel. It was a double casket match. That's crazy.
yeah.
Um.
I'll give you like
Man,
10
are they? So
seconds.
they're
I don't
two
want to I
single.
don't want to dwell on this.
I feel like was this Jericho?
No.
All right, I don't
I'm
know.
just lay it on you. Christian Cage and Swerve Strickland. How about that
What the
team?
hell?
What a duo there.
All
That
right.
shows you how much Swerve has grown over the past year. The fact that he was just like a side
What was
piece in
this?
the
See,
no,
this is
because
what
Darby
frustrates.
and Swerve, remember they like Swerve like invaded Darby's house or something, and
I thought he
like
invaded Hangman's house.
well, no, it wasn't his house. It was Buddy Wayne like training academy, like the garage,
Yeah.
and he
Oh,
like
right, because this is where Nick Wayne turns on Darby, right?
yeah, exact. This is Nick Wayne was still a babyface at this time, I think.
Yeah.
So this is the turn, and then I don't know if the term happened then, but like it would happen later on.
Okay. Well, that was something.
There you go.
Anyway, back to current day. We have another coffin match. And this time I am taking the scapegoat to win. Uh, Darby Allin going
Oh
4-1 in coffin matches. And
wow.
here's my big reason. You ready for this? This
Yeah.
is real big brain thinking.
Okay.
Jack Perry has put in way too much work to create this new title to just lose it immediately. Um, I don't know if you saw this video. He like cast
Yeah.
iron mold of like a new title, like created, like put in new straps and everything. That boy's holding on to it for a little bit. He's also a great character now. He's really coming into his own. Darby Allin does not need to win. He's got another championship match on the. He's got a wait, right?
Yeah.
So
Grand
not Pat.
Slam.
Yeah. So he's already the number one contender, and I guess whoever wins will be the
He's
number
just
two
going to get a
contender.
championship match at Grand Slam. It doesn't matter who the champion is at the time because there's probably going to be an all-out championship match. But no matter what, at Grand Slam, Darby Allin will be facing the AEW World Champion.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, Jack Perry's winning this by nefarious means, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't.
If I were to argue, though, if I were to argue Darby's case, you mentioned he hasn't lost in a coffin match. I think that's one of like the main stats that like AEW still kind of cares about and why they
Mhm.
threw the coffin match, maybe almost as like a red herring. But also the belt that Jack Perry made would look pretty good on Darby Allin. I'm not gonna like when I saw that, I was like, hey, Darby Allin, it kind of would
Yeah,
look nice on him. So if he made that belt just to lose it to Darby Allin to fool people into thinking he was gonna hold on to it, that would be pretty great. I am leaning towards Jack Perry. I really don't like though that they have been building like Darby Allin on because I think like this is something you could carry on for like year. Like Darby Allin is definitely one of your pillars. Like this
yeah,
is clearly. It would just make sense if Darby Allin had this long streak of coffin matches.
yeah,
And then, like, ultimately, there was some young upstart later on down the line that finally beats him in a coffin match, puts him over. Do you
yeah.
really need Jack Perry to win this match to be put over? I don't think it puts him over that much by
No,
beating Darby in this coffin match. So, my like, this is a tough one. This might be the toughest on the whole card.
mm. I think it
I'm
put.
I I think Jack Perry walks out as champion, but I just really don't like the idea
Yeah,
of Darby losing a coffin match this early in this coffin match run.
I agree. I think this is an example of them booking themselves into a corner because you really shouldn't have Darby lose, but I also don't think you can afford to have Jack lose right now.
Yeah. But I
So,
think they're also really high on Jack Perry. So I wouldn't be surprised if the thought process was give him this big coffin match win. It'll be
mm,
this big thing that Jack Perry has over
right,
Darby
he beat
Allin.
Darby at his own game. Like,
Right.
I mean, you think about WWE. Like Taker lost a ton of casket matches.
Right. But I almost see the coffin match the other way. Like I see the coffin match as like this is Darby's streak. Like you could have
Mm,
like this be like cart like I was picturing like 5-10 years from now. It's like Darby's like 17-0 in
mm,
coffin matches. And it's like now people want to challenge
right,
Darby in a coffin match because it's like the almost like bigger than a title at that point.
right. Well, maybe you're more forward thinking than AEW creative is. But
Well, I mean, we'll
anyway,
see. I'm still holding out hope because I actually, in my heart, I want Darby to win this so that they could keep that going.
number one in our hearts, number one on our in the field. All right. Up next we have Tony Storm defending the AEW Women's Championship against Mariah May. One of the most story-driven matches on the card. This to me is one of the harder ones to call because I think the story dictates Mariah May win. She needs it. If she loses this, I really think it's hard for her to rebound. Just given what we've seen from her. However, Tony Storm is by far the best character, the better worker, the bigger star going forward. And I think giving her a big win at Wembley would not be something I'm opposed to either. So I'm having a really hard time calling this one. If I had to call, if I was booking the show, I guess, which maybe isn't the best way to think about this, I think I think you have to introduce a third element to help Mariah May get the win, to give her credibility as a champion moving forward, give her the opportunity to run with it and see what she can do, and let Toni Storm go on to her next thing. You could revisit this later, but I don't know what that third element is or who it is, but that's what I think. What's up, Will?
I mean, it was right in front of you. Did you not watch Dynamite last week? The third element, Minu Shirakawa, who they
Mm,
interviewed and said she was torn. She doesn't
yeah.
want to see these people involved. That could be where Minu comes in and makes her decision. She wants to be with Mariah May. I think this is actually really easy. I think Mariah May definitely wins this match. You
Mm,
said it. Toni Storm is a star, and I think she's a star with or without the belt, and she's held that belt for a really long time.
mm,
Like I think she won it last year. So like now is the right time to drop it to Mariah May. I think it's like the biggest softball in this whole card
oh,
is like
interesting.
give it to Mariah May. Toni Storm, it's more intriguing for Toni Storm's character to lose the title, especially to Mariah May at
Mm,
this point. I think it actually will elevate both women if Mariah May wins this match. If you have Toni Storm win, it makes Mariah May turning like kind of like a throwaway thing, and it doesn't really add anything to Toni Storm's title run.
right.
So give it to Mariah May straight up, no questions about it. If you want to throw a Minu there to make Mariah a bigger heel, I'm totally for that as well. But I think at the end of the day, Mariah May, new AEW Women's Champion.
We're on the same page about who wins. I just don't know if it's that clear cut. Because I think for me, it stems from I don't believe in Mariah May. I think she's a weak champion, and I just don't know. Like I said, the
Or a
split
weak
between
challenger, you mean? Or,
yeah, well, both.
yeah.
I think she's a weak challenger, and if she wins, she's a weak champion. Um,
I mean, but that's like I think whether you think that or not, like it just makes sense. Like the direction they're going, the way they've been booking, it just makes sense for her to win the title. If they can fix that, and hopefully they will fix that, making her look stronger as a champion when she wins the belt. Like they could do that after the fact, but right now, if she loses this match, then she's not going to look any better. She's only going
yeah,
to look weaker. So
I just think in an ideal world, you would have gotten the belt off Tony Storm already because I don't think this program needed a belt. And I think the next match we're going to talk about is undisputably the bigger women's match. So
yeah,
I
I
don't
would
know.
agree with that. But
But it's the
it
lower
is what
card
it is.
title. So it is what it is. But anyway, we both have Mariah May winning this. And we'll see what she can do from here. Hopefully, if she does get the championship, she proves herself because I don't see it with her. Up next, the match we were talking about, we have Mercedes Monet and Camille defending the TBS Women's Championship against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Great match. I'm excited for it. One of the matches I'm most excited for on the card because these are your two biggest stars in the women's division, undisputedly, I think. And man, I would love to see Britt Baker get a win here, but I feel like it's too early to pull it off Mercedes. So I'm officially going Mercedes Monet.
Good man. I'm going the same thing. I think here's where I'm going with this.
Mm,
Hear me out, because I think I got this mapped out. I don't think it's that much of a top rope take, but hear me out here.
mm,
Mercedes Monet as the champion, obviously, it makes sense why she would get a win over Britt Baker. Not only because she just has won the championship, but she's also added this element of Camille.
yeah.
So I think what we'll see in this match is the numbers game with Camille on the outside proves to be too much with Dr. Britt Baker. But Dr. Britt Baker, she used to have a partner in crime who happens to be in the UK.
100%.
Returning, I think, after this match, or maybe even during the match if they want to go that route. But I think after the match would make more sense for Mercedes to win. Jamie Hayter returns.
Yes.
Now you got like it evened up, and that could be the tag match for All Out. You could do
Mm,
Mercedes and Camille versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, and then you also could build Mercedes Monet versus Jamie Hayter down the
yeah.
line as well.
No, I 100% agree. Jamie Hayter is getting involved. That's the kind of thing, though. I think if she does return, it almost like works in Britt's favor for her to win. So that's where I'm a little bit torn because like that's the big pop, that's the big return. But I guess you could still do it. And maybe it's like one of those situations where Jamie returns to a big pop and she takes out Camille and evens the numbers, but then Mercedes still finds a way to win.
I think no, but I do think like just here. This is my logic to it is that if you're Jamie Hayter and you're in the locker room and your plan is to help out Britt Baker if she needs help, I think what will happen is like it'll be the involvement of Camille that immediately sparks the win for Mercedes Moné,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll almost be like she didn't have time to think about it. She comes out afterwards after they continuously beat
Mm-hmm.
up Britt Baker, but then it will sow dissension between Jamie and Britt later on
Oh, to be like, why didn't you?
because Britt Baker will be like, well, if you were there, why did you
Yeah,
not help me out earlier? There's
right.
clearly 2-on-1. And then you could kind of spiral off into a storyline there. I think doing it that way adds a lot of elements to future feuds going forward. And what I do
I
love,
like it.
you did mention that like this is the stronger women's match. I do think versus like a TNT because I think this is two completely different belts at this point. Like the TNT championship, there's already so many mid card belts for the men's division that like the TNT championship can kind of take a back seat. Whereas the TBS championship, it's the only other singles championship for the women. So I actually like that it's elevated almost as like a second women's championship belt that's like high on the card. And you could kind of alternate between who is the better women's feud. Because when you have a strong women's division, which was what I've been begging for AEW to do, and now it seems like they finally have a grasp on it, which by the way, whatever you want to say about the backstage issues, completely did not play a factor on TV. Britt Baker still gets a great pop. She's not
Yeah,
getting booed. She's not getting overruled by anything. So, that's all well and good. So I think if they could just carry that momentum, get Jamie Hayter back in the mix, now you have a strong women's division that you can push going forward.
yeah. No, I agree. Should be a good match. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. But yeah, we're both in agreement that Mercedes Moné will walk out as champion. Have we disagreed on anything yet? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
I think we're looking pretty clean right now. I did
Might come
almost
down.
want to go against you for that Darby Allen match, but
Well, we
I'm
got
still
two
gonna go
more.
Jack Perry's like my 51%
Yeah,
to
right.
49% right there. But
He's
we
your
got a few
number.
more.
He's your number. What, 16 in the suicide poll? Is that how that works? All
I
right.
guess so.
All right. Up next for the AEW American Championship, we got the home. Well, I was gonna say hometown boy, but he's not. He's not. It's it's MJF defending the American Championship against the actual hometown boy, UK's own Will Ospreay, in what the match that I'm looking forward to the most because Will Ospreay is that dude. Um, tough one to call. I think. I think it's a tough one to call. I think could see reasons for both. But if I had to guess, I am going with they're gonna give Will Ospreay a big win in Wembley. So I'm going
Okay.
Will Ospreay.
After you said the whole thing about how we've been agreeing so far, I was just going to pick the opposite of whatever you pick because there's that much of a toss up. So I'm
Yeah.
going to make the argument for MJF here because they
Okay.
did just introduce this title and this all American run. It would kind of be strange if he just won this title and then immediately flipped it around. Although I do get that's kind of the point of this title
Mm,
is kind of the just like you have this big heel hate of you being an American. And it's almost like what I like about it, it's like nuanced take on like the foreign heel because we're
mm,
so used to as Americans the foreign heel being anyone outside of America, but now
right.
MJF is walking in as the foreign heel by
Yes.
being American. So I do kind of like that element of the match. I do think it's obviously like Will's match to win and it
Mm-hmm.
gives him a big win at Wembley Stadium. I just don't think it's the worst thing in the world if MJF wins this title. And but
Yeah.
the only reason why I would be against it is because then how like you definitely need like the story ends with Will Ospreay beating MJF for the title. And I think the only place you do that at is Wembley Stadium.
Right.
So I don't see like MJF beating Will Ospreay and then Will Ospreay just moves on to something else. Unless I guess it's the world title again. But I think the story makes sense for Will Ospreay to win, and also Will Ospreay versus Pac. It's just like that match is going to be off the charts
Yeah.
uh, at All Out. So Ah, man, I was gonna go against you with that because I do think there is a case for MJF to win this match,
I
but
agree.
it just makes I think it would just make a lot more sense and be a nice feel good moment
I think best
for
case scenario is Will wins it here at Wembley to get his moment. And then 2 weeks later, they have a rematch at All Out and he loses it.
right. Which yeah, that could happen as well. But I think if you do want MJ, like if you're gonna have, like we'll talk about this later on in the main event, but if you're gonna have a certain person win the main event, you can get away with MJF winning this match.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all
No,
I'll
I
throw out
agree.
there. But I'm gonna, yeah, I said I was gonna go against you, but I'm gonna lock in Will Ospreay
All
because
right.
I think it's just too it's too there. Like it's too much of like the story driven
Mhm.
Wembley match. Like that's the big hometown match you want Will Ospreay to win.
Especially with MJF having gotten the win previously in an hour on Dynamite.
Yeah. You kind of want to split the series.
Right. All righty. That leaves us with one more match to talk
Wait,
about. Oh, what?
before you get to it, this is
Okay.
my point that I was gonna make. I just remembered it now. Um, I they could tease the CM Punk thing, where MJF wins the match, but like he does it by cheating, and the ref like catches him cheating, and so they restart the match. But people think, oh my god, he's gonna beat him twice in his hometown, like he beat Punk twice in his hometown,
Mhm.
and then that's gonna be MJF's driving point. But then Will Ospreay actually wins, but it also gives a case for MJF being like, hey, I beat you, like that
Yeah.
should have been the end of the match. That's a good way to continue the feud, and then MJF could still brag about being like up 2-1, even though he really wasn't. I could see that happening. Just as like a nice little like foil for the
You know
match
what?
that will get people thinking.
Yeah. You know what I was just thinking? I was like, MJF really needs like a heater to bring up. And then that got me thinking, where the hell is Wardlow?
Is he going to show up in the gauntlet match? Or we
Like he could
like
benefit so much from aligning back with MJF, I think.
I would want to. I think there needs to be more storyline sense involved than just him. Like if they bring him back, sure, and then he immediately signs with MJF. But like the fact that he was like going at MJF's throat when he had the world
Yeah.
championship, and now he's just gonna and he then turns on MJF at
I guess
World's
they
End.
can't, but
It
it's
would
like
just be weird to me.
what a
So
fall from grace for Wardlow.
he's gonna sign with WWE, dude. And then he could be in all these feuds that I predict all these AEW guys being in for
I mean, it
WWE.
would be better for him, right?
Yeah, there you go. What can he do? He can fight Braun Breaker in that IC tournament. Talk about
Here's my money.
whatever.
All right, all right. Last match on the card for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. We have the defending champion Swerve Strickland challenging against the American Dragon Bryan Danielson. Title versus career. Will the $1 million question? Will Bryan Danielson complete his AEW destiny and win the world title? Or will his career come to an end at Wembley Stadium? What say you?
Well, with that, you definitely have a future as a host. I gotta say, that was definitely great. Ryan Seacrest, Howie
Oh, thank you
Mandel
so
level
much. That's what I was
of
going
building
for.
me into
I
it.
really went for Ryan Seacrest there.
But the the video package on Dynamite definitely had me questioning. Like, oh man, it definitely got me a little emotional. I was like, oh man, this really could be the end of the road for Bryan Danielson. But that could also just be another thing to trick me into thinking that
Mm.
this could be it for Bryan Danielson. I really want to see him win. I think it would be such a feel good moment at Wembley. The people would go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
The confetti going down. But if you're gonna have that moment with Will Ospreay earlier in the show, then it does make sense. And I think that might also trick people with having Swerve potentially walk out of here, ending Bryan Danielson's career. I'm not gonna predict with my mind. I'm gonna predict with my heart. I want to see my guy, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, win the AEW championship and go on a nice, solid run before eventually dropping it, ending his career with AEW, and then having that John Cena match that I was talking about a few weeks ago.
I love it. I, in real time, just had a change of heart. And I'm going
Okay,
to change one of my earlier match predictions, and I'll explain why.
let's go. We need a difference, so we can't go 10 for 10 being the same.
I know. I am also taking Bryan Danielson
Okay.
to win. Um, reason being, I think there's a couple matches in AEW left on the table that he hasn't done yet that he needs to do. And I think giving his big moment in all at Wembley is a big deal. I don't think he needs to hold on to the title for long. I think he could drop it at All Out in 2 weeks. But this is what I want to see. And so this is my official prediction. Earlier in the show, I said that I thought Hangman Adam Page was going to win the Casino Battle Royal or whatever it's called, gauntlet match. I am changing that. And I no longer think Hangman is going to win. Instead, I think Hangman is going to lose that match by probably his own devices or whatever. But he will come out in the main event. And he will screw Swerve Strickland out of the AEW World Championship. And Bryan Danielson will win, setting up Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland for All Out, non-title, blood feud match. So who does Bryan Danielson challenge, defend the title against at All Out? The winner of the Casino Battle Royal, the returning Jon Moxley. That's what I want at All Out. And that is my official prediction for Wembley.
Okay, I thought you were gonna be ultimate troll there because I have one final question for you.
Shane McMahon.
I was just about to say Shane McMahon, final entrant in the gauntlet, comes out, wins the thing, and then we get the former SmackDown general managers Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan at All Out. Shane wins the title. Shane McMahon AEW champion.
Wait, what we need to do is we need to cut that entire sequence, and right before I say Jon Moxley, we need to cut it.
Shane McMahon. Oh my gosh, dude! I actually. It is funny because my question to you is going to be: does Shane McMahon show up at All In, and in what capacity? I think if you're gonna make if you want to add a little spice to one of these matches that could use a little spice, I think Shane McMahon helps the EVPs win the tag team championships.
I would love it.
Or hold on to their tag team championships.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a fun little thing to add to that match. And it would definitely have people talking about that match more than anything they actually do in the match. And then it would also give me that alignment that I'm looking for with the EVPs and Shane McMahon. I'm also going to throw out another name here for the Casino Gauntlet. I don't know the timeline on this person. I don't know if he's ready to go, but it would definitely be if he gets in this match, I would be like, oh, that's a potential winner right there. Kenny Omega.
I was just thinking that too. Like, where is he?
Does he show up? And then you find, like, you know what? That's the match that if you want to talk about matches that Bryan Danielson needs to have, we need to get that full match, 60-minute time limit, AEW World Championship, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson. Because I just think if Bryan Danielson retires and doesn't have that second match with Omega, that's going to be one of the biggest what ifs in wrestling. I think he's got to have that match with Omega at some point where they finally, like, there has to be a winner.
I agree. I don't think Kenny's healthy enough at this point to make that a reality, and I don't know how much longer Bryan Danielson is going to be able to keep wrestling. Man, there's so much left on the table, which is the hard part for Bryan. Because I do know he's trying to wrap it up. And I don't think unlike John Cena, I don't think he can go another full calendar year. I really think like he's really approaching the end, and his contract's up, which isn't something that we've talked about. Which isn't to say that he won't win, but there's so many factors at play, and there's so much left on the table, and so many stories and matches to be had. Still, it's gonna be a tough time regardless. So
yeah. We'll have I am kind of holding out hope for that. Hopefully somehow the timelines cross and we can see that match. But I do like that you're changing your prediction for the Casino Gauntlet. I do think Hangman could get involved. And if he does have that if he does win the Casino Gauntlet, I have heard speculation of like, could he just like after the match, like if Swerve does win, like, and is that how you go off with Hangman being like, we're not ending this on like Swerve winning. Like he cashes in this casino thing, like a Money in the Bank. And
the only thing I don't like about that is then it's like really stomping on Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, right. He should have his, if that is his retirement, he should do it. Or like this Hangman, like the biggest, I don't know how it would work out. But I do actually, if Danielson does win, it would make sense if Moxley wins the casino
Yeah.
chip. But then I could also see like, because then, but I could see if Hangman wins, he costs Swerve the match.
Mhm.
Then Hangman in his match against Danielson, Swerve costs him the match, and then that just continues the feud. So definitely a lot of possibilities for All In. Very much looking forward to All In. And before we move on to our Raw and SmackDown recap, I do want to get your thoughts on next year's All In being in Texas at the Globe Life Stadium where
Big
the Rangers
downgrade.
play. Big downgrade, but I'm curious what you expect for All In next year.
What do I expect? Like you were asking me, like fantasy book a year
No,
out.
I'm not saying fantasy book, but like, do you think it sells out? Do you think it does well? Do you think the conversation's already going to be kind of skewed because they're in a smaller stadium than Wembley? How do you feel about them moving to Texas? Did they see the writing on the wall after the numbers this year?
Um, yes, I agree that I think it's definitely a financial decision, obviously, unless the other. I don't know. I kind of just feel like it's a downgrade, like immensely. Um, and I don't know if that's because the financials dictate that you have to do it, or if there's another reason why. Like,
Well, just to be fair to AEW, if you're going to do a all in show outside of Wembley Stadium, there's few places that they could go to where it'd be an upgrade. So no matter where they went, if
yes,
they were going to move out of Wembley, it was going to be a downgrade regardless.
I guess my point though was like, if you were gonna go to somewhere in the states, like Jerry World, like AT&T Stadium feels bigger.
Yeah,
Feels like more like this go feels like going to like an arena, you know?
I guess. It's pretty. It's still pretty big. It's one of the newer stadiums. I think that rebuilt. So
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
It's definitely going to be a downgrade. I'm just curious to know what the vibes are going to be like after doing All In. I would have preferred if they were going to move out of Wembley just to still keep it international because I think AEW, the one thing that is like they're to their detriment that WWE is doing really well is these international shows that
Yeah,
make WWE feel like it's the hottest thing in the world right now. Whereas AEW, like the reason why I'm looking forward to this pay per view isn't just because of all the matches on the card. It's because the London crowd brought it last year. Like they were
yeah,
so excited for everything, and I think they're going to keep a great energy for this show. And I just like seeing those international crowds in wrestling. So
yeah,
I hope that if they do All In Texas, that they have something to supplement it internationally next
yeah.
year.
Maybe do all out internationally. I don't know.
I think that'll always be in Chicago, but we'll see.
Has it been Chicago every year?
Yeah.
That's annoying. Um,
It is what it is.
yeah. Yeah, I don't really have too many thoughts on it. I think it's not a great look, but it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. So, all right. Well, anything else from these all in predictions or comments you want to say?
Now let's go right into the Raw recap.
Do you want to do the Raw recap, or do you want to save
Yeah,
it?
well, we could just run it down quickly
All
if you
right.
got a few things that you want to talk
I
about.
don't feel like there was too much that was like really worth. I feel like it was a transitional week in wrestling, but well, for WWE at least. But yeah, let's just quickly run through it, I guess. All right, so we started Raw with Orton Gunther and with a promo battle there, and then that ended in the main event with Orton defeating Ludwig Kaiser. Um, we got their World Heavyweight Championship match at Bash in Berlin in a couple weeks. Randy Orton got a huge reception here. He's clearly the best babyface, which I think was a really smart thing in hindsight for his first challenge. Not only did story dictate it, but also you run the risk in Berlin with Gunther being cheered as a babyface. And so I think Orton was the best guy you could put in there who was going to be equally cheered. I feel like if you didn't want the crowd turning on the babyface, Orton was the best person for this spot.
Yeah, and then also if the crowd does decide to turn on Orton and they're just huge Gunther fans, it's really not that big of a deal. In fact,
Yeah.
you could use that as like a little spice if you do want to turn
Mm,
Orton down the line. But I just love Orton as a baby face. I think people are gonna love him
mm,
no matter what. He's just awesome. He's just got this genuine vibe to him now where he's like, I'm a dad, I'm having
mm.
fun. And when he was talking about his size 15 boot, extra
Yeah.
wide. I was
Yeah.
like, this is fun. I just like Randy Orton in this position. And I think Gunther looked oddly weak in the segment. Like
Mhm.
I feel like when they were brawling, at least in the first segment, like Randy was getting a ton of hits in. It wasn't until Ludwig chopped
Yeah.
the legs out from
It's
under
all
him.
that Nutella he's eating.
I guess so. Yeah, you watch that Cody Rhodes interview. That was a
Yeah.
fun one too. He's talking about Elden Ring and stuff.
Mhm.
Audition for cable. Definitely recommend anyone who hasn't seen that check that out. I also love that whole YouTube series that Cody's been doing.
Yeah.
It's just been really entertaining to watch. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the match. We'll definitely have more to talk about in the predictions next week. This one, just as a whole, this show is just very much like filler to get to the go home show.
100%. Yeah. Also on this show, we had another promo battle between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Nothing really special there. This is kind of like this feud is, I don't want to say ran its course, but it's getting a little stale now, in my opinion.
Yeah, as I'll just talk as the big CM Punk mark in the room here.
Please do.
I like CM. I know people are kind of tired of like this babyface CM Punk. They want to see the Punk with a little edge to him. But when he's talking about how like fans come up to him, there's a fan who like beat cancer, and he's talking about fans who travel tens of thousands of miles. It's just some nice to hear because I know that's how passionate people are about CM Punk, and hopefully, like we will. I have faith in CM Punk that he wants to do something interesting, especially going towards his Seth Rollins feud. I hope we can just kind of move on from the Drew feud after they do their matches,
Yeah.
or their series of matches, and he can get into something where he is that edgier side of CM Punk. Because I think a lot of things got delayed because of the injury. So I think
Right.
we're supposed to get like a babyface Punk versus a heel Drew McIntyre. And then when you have someone like Rollins, who is this cheered guy, then you could start to play with CM
Mhm.
Punk being kind of on the edgier side and maybe even
Yeah.
turning at that point. I think I have more expectations for an edgier CM Punk in 2025 than I do right now. For now, let him do his, that initial like AEW
White meat,
2021
baby
run where
face.
he's
Yeah.
like, I'm just glad to be here and it's been
Yeah.
so long. Let him do that run through this Drew feud. And, I think it'll be entertaining regardless because it's CM Punk. As far as the strap match goes, I think I really don't want to see a strap match. I hate the strap match. It's
Why?
red light, green light. You touch 4 turnbuckles. How is that? This is a blood feud. I don't like you touching
Is
four
that what they're doing
turnbuckles.
though? Is that the kind of strap match they're
He
doing?
said
Or
it
is
in the promo. He said
oh,
like this is a match where you touch 4 turnbuckles. And like so it's not like a dog collar match where you're just like
uh,
tied to each other and then whoever wins wins.
you know what
I
it is.
just hate like the red light green light stuff. Like it makes it like so not entertaining and it doesn't add anything to the feud. It's going to be a problem where this is blood feud. And I guess this is something maybe presented as like a challenge for them. Like, how do you make a strap match interesting? Because it is one of the more interesting feuds in WWE with what I consider like one of the least interesting match types in WWE.
What
I
would you
can't,
rather have seen?
dude, just do straight up dog collar. Like I like when they're tied to each other, like I don't know if they can't do that or if like AW has some sort of weird trademark or do a strap match. Don't do the turnbuckle thing. Like make it
Yeah.
clear, like we're going to do a strap match, but we're not doing this stupid turnbuckle stuff. I think it's lame when like if a lot of the drama isn't the violence and it's just, I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna
Yeah.
touch the turnbuckle. Oh, he yanked me. Like
Yeah.
that's elementary stuff right there. And I'm just not looking. It has second match syndrome to me. And like a 3 match series, you either
Yes.
know that you remember the first match or the third match, and the second match kind of can get forgotten. I
Yeah.
think the only time, like maybe I could go back and think. The only thing that comes to mind is like Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano. They had a great second match in their series, but even then, that's like an unpopular take because a lot of people like the first match more and
Mhm.
the New York match. But I, I'm curious to see how this plays out, but I'm very much even as a CM Punk fan and as a fan of this feud, I'm not looking forward to this strap match.
I just think the feud as a whole needs a new coat of paint on it. We've been doing the thing with the bracelet for like a month and a half. It just feels boring to me at this point. Especially, I feel like SummerSlam was so highly anticipated because they had never gone one on one before, and now that they have, it's really died down for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the challenge of this match. How will they get us intrigued into having a third match through this
Mm.
strap match? But we'll see, and we'll talk about it more next week on our
Like, I think
prediction
it just
show.
needs to. I agree with you. I think it just needed to be a more violent stipulation. You know,
100%.
give me first blood.
Yeah, first blood. I think. Well, save first blood for bad blood.
Well, not if they're doing Hell in a Cell.
Well, does CM Punk want to do Hell in a Cell? And I would assume that he doesn't. But
Mm.
and I also don't want to see it, even if that was like a joke on the press conference. I personally just don't want to see him in a Hell in a Cell match.
You'd rather
But
see a first blood match of bad blood.
I would rather see a match where I think CM Punk could make it out alive. So
Yeah.
that's just me, but they'll do. You're right. They're probably going to do Hell in a Cell, and I just hope that they because the thing is, you want that match to be as violent as possible. But I'm the whole time I'm just going to be like, no, oh, I can't
Yeah.
watch.
And the thing with Hell in a
So,
Cell too, and we're kind of getting on a tangent now. Hell in a Cell has been so watered down over the last decade. Like, I don't know, it doesn't have the same effect to me as it did. So they need something to bring it back if they're gonna do it. But anyway, so that was Raw. They had their shtick strap match at Berlin. Some other things we had on this show. We had the heels of the New Judgment Day get one over on the Terror Twins. So you had Finn and Dominic and JD and Carlito and Liv all attack Damien and Rhea, setting up for their mixed tag match at Berlin. This was needed because, like we had said last week, the heels were looking real weak, and they still do. But this is something.
yeah, at least they got one over on the Terror Twins. That's kind of what I was
Mm,
hoping for when they were setting up this segment. A few things though.
mm,
I do like Damian Priest as a babyface, but it was clear on this show he's still not a good promo. He's
yeah,
still not good on the mic. When he was talking backstage with Rhea, he's just something robotic about his delivery. And I appreciate you, Ripley, helping me out. Or
yeah.
I know that this is a trap. It's like I don't know. Like he's definitely still got work to do on the promo side. I'd rather him just not talk at all. And also when he comes out for this entrance, it's still Judgment Day esque. I think they need to get rid of like the purple text and the purple graphics. I think he just needs to stray away from all that stuff. Make a new graphic for him.
I think
Maybe
that
even
is.
have it. I would say new song, but I hate Depth Rebel in his song, so maybe don't do that. Maybe if you're gonna get a new song, buy it. Like buy the rights to like a really popular song
I
that
think
would
the
get him over.
song is fine, but I do think the biggest challenge for Damian Priest right now is who is Damian Priest without the Judgment Day?
Right.
Because right now he's still very much the same guy.
Right. And he still feels like Judgment Day
Mm,
tie. Like something's there's still like a tie to the Judgment Day
mm,
throughout all this. So at least I'm hoping that after this whole Judgment Day feud, that if he does step out, then that's when they start doing like a repackaging of
mm.
Damian Priest. And yeah, maybe practice in front of a mirror, talk to yourself for 5 minutes. This
Yeah.
is basic promo 101 and see if it sounds natural.
Yeah, I agree. And I take back what I just said. He does need new music because the whole All Rise is a heel. And he's not a heel.
And it's also all rise for what exactly?
Yeah, the
Not the
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day, because he's not in it anymore. So all
Yeah.
rise for what? The Terror Twins? Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
I agree. So he needs a fresh coat of paint soon, but he's got to he's got to finish beating up these losers in the Judgment Day first. All right. Anything else on Raw you want to talk about? We had Sheamus
Yes.
versus Pete Dunne.
Okay.
We
Is that what you
had
want to talk about?
no, I'm
Sheamus
just
versus
going
Pete
through
Dunne?
some of the other stuff.
Okay.
Sheamus versus Pete Dunne, real quick. I'll just say like a couple one-liners on it. I'm happy to see Pete Dunne. He lost this match, but I'm happy to see him being presented again as the bruiserweight. Thought him and Sheamus had a great match. I loved Pete Dunne since Pete Dunne is the wrestler who got me into wrestling outside of WWE. He is the sole reason that I started watching Japan and the UK, and I found Will Ospreay, and I found anything outside of WWE was because in 2016 or 2017, the UK WWE UK Championship with him and Tyler Bate, that's what got me interested. So that's why Pete Dunne's always been one of my favorites. I'm happy to see him being presented as the Bruiserweight again.
Yeah, Pete Dunne was awesome in that initial
Mm,
UK tournament. That match with Tyler Bates awesome. But then they had the other match at Chicago when he won
yeah,
against Tyler Bate. So I'm a huge Pete Dunne fan. On the main roster, I could take it or leave it
yeah.
with Pete Dunne. I'm curious to see how he does tonight. NXT, they got
Mm,
Joe Hendry, Pete Dunne, and Wesley. I think that should be a pretty fun match.
yeah.
So curious
So
to see
see
what
that.
happens there. And remind me, I have an NXT shout out to make, but I'll do that after the Raw recap.
Cool. And
This is
also Also happy to see Sheamus putting on banger after banger still.
Of course. And, they'll have a fun. Is it Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser at Berlin? Is
It's not
that
official, but
okay? I think that'll happen because, like, I think you want Ludwig to have like a moment out there. I'm
yeah,
sure
and
it'll be
Sheamus is
personal.
European. You want him to be there.
Yeah, it'll be a fun match. Um,
Um,
can I throw out there? The rumors are true. There's been a lot of talk about a women's mid card title, and
oh,
they did announce on the
oh,
show the inaugural women's speed championship.
oh,
Aren't you excited for that? But here's the thing:
oh boy.
are you? I'm
Oh
excited for
man.
it. Here's where I'm questioning though. They're
Okay.
calling it the inaugural speed championship, but this belt has been in WWE before. It was called the Divas Championship.
No,
So
but
I
I'm
just
sure.
there you go. That's my joke for the day.
Big
But
hero all week, folks. Yeah.
I would laugh if like Chelsea Green won the tournament and then just renamed it the Divas Championship. I think there's some fun that could be had there, but I don't
Yeah.
have any expectations for that. I think, cool.
Oh, brother, that is
They could
wow.
give that to the next AEW woman
What
who
big news.
crosses over.
I can't wait to see Zelina Vega win that title on Twitter. All right.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome, dude.
So cool. Also on Raw, we had Bronson Reed continue his path of destruction against The Miz in a no DQ match. Any thoughts on that?
Miz looked pretty good. Do you still feel confident in this Miz heel turn? Because he got that promo, and I'm like, I don't know if this guy's turning heel, but
It's
maybe
coming
that's
soon.
just
It's coming
okay.
soon.
It's that Triple H long term storytelling that they're
Yeah.
doing on here.
The only reason I don't think maybe they won't turn Miz heel is because Miz has become very much like an ambassador for WWE. And like he does all like this has kind of been his role for a very long time at this point, but like he's the celebrity guy, he's the press guy, he's the host of everything. Like so maybe they won't, but I just think from a wrestling perspective, he's so much better as a heel.
That's fair, but I also think they're not clamoring for the Miz in either department right
No,
now.
for
Like they could
sure.
just be whatever in the
Yeah.
lower mid card, and he'll be fine. I do like though. After this match, Braun Strowman came out, and now that's something
Yes.
I could get behind. Is
Braun and
Bronson
Bronson I'm
Reed
down for.
because I know this would be a great way to put Bronson Reed over. Just have him tsunami Braun Strowman over and over again, just nonstop. Try to put him down. I think it'll be a great match
If
for
that's a
to put
Berlin, I'm
Bronson
happy
Reed
about
over.
it. Or,
Yes, 100%.
and then
Get
Braun
the
can
meat
go
chance going. Wait, is there a word for meat in
in
Germany?
German.
Yeah, do you know
I'm
that off
sure
the top?
there is, but that's not in my repertoire.
All right, should have done some research.
Yeah, it was good. Good to see Bronson continue his path of destruction. Hopefully, they have big plans for him. Um, the one thing I'll say about the Miz, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the dude has 100%, without question, the single worst gear I've ever seen in my life. Um, he needs, dude, this headband bullshit that looks like you tied a tie around your forehead needs to freaking go. He looks so freaking dumb with the goggles and shit. God damn it, Miz.
Yeah, the
Um,
headband kind of reminds me of like when you're drunk at a bachelor party.
like
There's that
literally,
one
what
guy
are
who
we
just is
doing
like, what
here?
is he doing out there?
Yeah.
Why is he guy's tie tied around his head?
So that needs to go, Miz. Other than that, on the show, we also had Big O make his in-ring debut. Or no, he teamed with a New Day, not his in-ring debut, against the Authors of Pain. New Day got a win here. They continue to tease the Xavier Woods not being happy about it segment. They addressed on television what we had said last week about the idea that Kofi's bringing in Big O to replace Big E. And Kofi was like, oh, no, I never do that. And then they made a big deal about how at the end of the match, when Kofi had the choice to make a hot tag to either Xavier or Big O, he went with Big O, who got the win for them. So I'm invested in the storyline because I'm a story guy and Xavier Woods is a good actor. So I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I really liked Kofi's like rebuttal to the whole thing about how, we needed that we would have loved that veteran presence 10 years ago when we were just starting the New Day. We should help out Odyssey Jones the same way we would have liked that help. And, Xavier was kind of playing that whole thing of like, oh man, maybe it is just me. Like maybe I'll go out there. But then Kofi again makes the tag. He also tagged himself in early in the match when Woods was going face to face with Karrion Kross. It's funny because everyone talks about like, oh, Woods might be the one to break up the New Day or like turn heel out of all of this, but like Woods has been completely justified in this whole thing. If there's anyone who in their mind has been justified, but in reality just seems like a dick, it's Kofi.
Yeah.
Because like in Kofi's mind, it's like, oh no, I'm just trying to help out. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
trying to do this. But then he's doing things like take the microphone. And then he's doing things like telling Xavier Woods about all these things that he's doing behind Woods' back.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like the people always say like, oh, the best heels are the ones that feel like they're justified. I feel like in both cases, Woods and Kofi feel like they're justified in their own right. But as a fan, you side with Woods more than Kofi because of all what Kofi's been doing over the past few weeks. So I think that element's interesting. I don't, I'm curious to see just how that plays out. But I hope that this is just like one thing where it's like there's just like they tease a dissension, but ultimately, as they get to the 10-year anniversary, maybe it is that Big E comes out and finally brings everyone together, and it's
Yeah.
kumbaya.
I love Big E. I can't wait for Big E to return if he ever does. Also in the show, we had the women's triple threat tag match for the tag titles. Fire and Dawn got the win over Shayna Baszler, whatever. What do they call it? Pure Fusion Collective, worst name in wrestling. And who else was in that match? I don't even remember. Oh, the Damage Control. Good match. It's fine. They're weak champions. I don't have a ton to say about it, but they need more. I guess it was good for them to pick up a win, but Damage Control is quite clearly the best in-ring workers and the best, most over characters of that match. Anything else
Oh
from
my gosh,
Raw?
sorry, I fell asleep when you did that recap. All right, what else happened on Raw?
Literally nothing else.
Okay.
You missed. I think that's it, right? From Raw.
White Six came out, attacked American Made. Cool. Ivy
Right.
Nile turned on Maxine. I actually thought, I'll say this. I thought Maxine looked really good for the 1 minute that she did stuff in this match. I was like, okay, Maxine, like good for
Yeah.
you doing that. And then they, did the Wyatt stuff. They had uh Nikki Cross come out as like Abby the Witch. And I thought once Ivy Nile said something about like the family thing, about like, we have this is my new family, or like take I was like, okay, Wyatt Six is definitely making an impact. I
We're
hope
getting
that they
Uncle.
just, yeah, we're gonna get Uncle Howdy, Chad Gable, I think, at Berlin,
No,
or
next week on
maybe,
Raw.
oh, we are getting it next week. Okay, so cool. I hope
Cool.
that's the end of it. Because I actually thought about this. I'm like, especially with all the family talk, it makes sense coming out of Berlin if they do the Wyatt Six versus the New Judgment Day, if they both need an avenue to go down. Because
Well,
that seems like the two big factions right now on Raw.
they were also teasing something with Dakota Kai and Damage Control.
Right. So, but I don't know how that really plays
Yeah.
into, because it's a lot of dudes, right? There's no real
Yeah.
tie into Dakota Kai unless they were going to go down the Alexa Bliss path. But I honestly, now that this thing's going, I don't think Alexa Bliss needs to be
No.
a part of it. In fact, I have another thing for Alexa Bliss to get involved in if we
All
get to
right.
it.
Well, maybe we'll save that for the very end and we'll do top rope takes to end the show. Um, all right. Real quick, some stuff on SmackDown happened. Not a ton. Tiffany Stratton threw a celebration for Nia Jax, who was immediately attacked by Michin with a kendo stick. They will, I don't know if that matches it for Berlin or another week on SmackDown, but either way, we're getting a Nia Jax Michin match. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this segment got like overhated online. I don't know. Like maybe
Mm.
I'm running with the wrong crowds online, but I thought this was entertaining. I thought it was like bad on purpose. Like I love Pretty Deadly's involvement in this celebration about doing the musical. They're just completely offbeat and they weren't
I
synced
like
up.
Pretty Deadly. They're funny.
They're funny. They're entertaining, and I also like that the idea of the celebration is that like this is a celebration that Tiffany Stratton would want if she
Mm.
was a champion. And
Right.
Nia kind of acknowledged that by being like, it's a lot of pink. It's like this isn't necessarily what I would want. I'm more of like a destruction and violence type person. So it kind of is already planting seeds for like them breaking up down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think if that turn does happen and Nia does need to turn to a friend, a former friend, then maybe that's where Alexa Bliss fits in the picture more so than the Wyatt Six.
I agree with that. I don't necessarily know if you bring in Alexa Bliss as your heater, but
Not as
but
a heater, but like as someone to like, I
mm,
don't know, it'd just be more of like a one-off thing. Like if Tiffany like teams up with, say, like Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, Nia needs some friends, but
yeah.
Nia's already burned a lot of bridges in the past. That's
Mm,
when maybe you get Alexa Bliss in the fold.
there you go. I could get down with that.
But that's just a theory.
Yeah. Some other things that happened on SmackDown: Street Profits defeated DIY to become number one contenders for the tag team championships. They will face the Bloodline next week. No shot Street Profits win that, right?
No, I think it's Bloodline all day, especially, and we'll probably end Top Rope Takes with this. The return of Jacob Fatu. Everyone was wrong. Everyone thought he was hurt. Everyone thought he was on the
He just saw
sideline.
the boot on.
He did still have the boot on, but I think that was just like, I mean, he was still doing all the same stuff. It seemed
Yeah.
like the boot was just like on as an accessory. But
Mhm.
do you want to get into that? Roman
Yeah, yeah.
Reigns?
It's already here.
Yeah. So Roman Reigns teasing, putting on the Ula Fala. Am I saying that
Mhm.
right? The Ula
Yes, you
Fala.
are. Good job.
All right. I'm proud. I'll pat myself on the back there.
Pats for Patrick.
He did put it on, and everyone went nuts for that. But
Mhm.
then ultimately was met with a super kick from Jacob Fatu, which then took the Ulafala clean off, which I thought was
Mhm.
a great visual. And then finally, what again was needed, similar to the Judgment Day on Raw, this new bloodline needed to get one over on Roman Reigns to look strong. Because I thought the
Yeah.
fact that they got completely punked out
Mhm.
on the last week's episode of SmackDown, which you needed to do. I mean, it was a good way for Roman to get back on the scene and make him look like this superstar babyface. I do like though that when they did this beatdown, it was Jacob Fatu that was ultimately the difference maker for this new bloodline to get one over on Roman Reigns.
Um, yeah, I agree that this was needed. Jacob Fatu looked strong, and man, what do they do with Solo? Because he's such a joke. Like he's never done anything legitimate. Um, so I just don't know what you do with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear like Solo's role as like a false tribal chief may have gone like because like you definitely want him not to be look like the tribal chief. Like you don't want him to be as over at like for example, if Jacob Fatu stepped in the role of the new tribal chief, I think a lot of fans would be like, yeah, that makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
you don't want fans to think that about someone who calls himself the new tribal chief if you're trying to get over Roman Reigns still as the OTC. So I think
Right.
you need someone who is kind of like lesser than to be calling themselves the tribal chief in order for this to work, which is why I think Solo still works in the role,
Mm-hmm.
is because, yeah, he's not the tribal chief. He was better off as an enforcer, but he considers himself the tribal chief because Roman Reigns stepped away and Solo has now put in this role of like, okay, well, someone needs to step up in the bloodline. And he's looking around and he's like, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to bring in all these crazy Tongans in as well.
Can I float something by you real quick?
Sure.
What are the odds we see Solo Sikoa realign with Roman Reigns before the end of the year?
Oh, before the end of the year. I think
Because
that's too soon. I do think they realign at some point, but I think ultimately somehow The Rock needs to get involved.
well, here's my thought.
Okay.
Okay, because we all know this is all culminating in November with the War Games match. Question is, how do we get there? What if everyone thinks it's Team Roman versus Team Solo? What if it's not? What if it's Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, both Usos, and Sami Zayn, the OG bloodline, versus Jacob Fatu, Tamatanga, Tonga Loa, Hikaleo, aka Talatanga, and The Rock?
I think that's a top rope take right there. But I just think I don't think I can't see The Rock in War Games. Like
No, I know, right?
that's just like the one thing that I'm like, I don't see it happening. I think if they were to tease that, they would have done something at SummerSlam to
Mm-hmm.
then get to Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see The Rock coming. I think The Rock comes back maybe at Survivor Series at
Yeah.
the latest. And like he plays a part in the whatever the War Games match could be. Because you could do an abbreviated version of that 4-on-4. You
Mm-hmm.
just do Roman, Solo, and the Usos versus Fatu, Tamatanga, Tongaloa, and Talatonga, Hikaleu. You could
Mm-hmm.
do it that way. Or you could do Roman, Usos, Sami Zayn versus Fatu, Solo, and Botonga
Right, which I
people.
think is
Girls of Destiny.
I think that makes the most sense.
So there's a lot of different combinations you could do with that. I'm curious to still see how they go over there because we forgot to mention this on Raw. Braun Breaker announced an IC title tournament, and Jey Uso is going to be a part of it. So I don't know if that Jey Uso trade to SmackDown is going down.
He came out with a blue Ulafala. That boy is going to SmackDown soon.
I mean, they have a red Ulafala on SmackDown. Like, I don't think that, like, it was weird. He had blue when that was the weird thing about it. When they split up Jimmy and Jay, Jimmy was wearing red, and Jay was wearing blue, and they were on the opposite brand. So I was like, I don't know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think if they want to tell that story, they could find a way to get Jey Uso on SmackDown or do something. Like, you could have both Usos. I don't know what you do. But
real quick, who's your pick to win this tournament to face Braun Breaker?
It could. I don't know what they're doing with Ilya if he's going to be back.
That was what I was going to
shelf.
Say.
But if they're going to have Jey Uso in it, why not have Jey Uso and Braun Breaker?
Give me Obafemi.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah, we could throw in some wild cards there. It's going to be Penta and Penta versus Braun Breaker. Penta win. So
Shane McMahon.
It's going to be Chris Sabin versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. No, but I think it's going to be either Jay or Ilya Dragunov.
Cool. All right. Anything else you want to talk about from this week, Will?
Yeah, I'll give it NXT shout outs. It's NXT's on tonight. There's been someone on NXT who's been really tickling my fancy lately, and it's part of the new Catch Point Republic, I think is what they're called. What a new Catch Point something?
New Catch Republic?
New Catch, no, because that's bait and
done. Yeah.
It's like new Catch Point something.
Really tickling your fancy, huh? You don't even know their name.
Well, no, it's because it's not the group itself. It's because I do like Charlie Dempsey.
New Quarter Catch Crew, is that what you're saying?
New Quarter Catch Crew.
Is there something like that?
Thank you. That is exactly what it is. It's clearly tickling my fancy here. But the one person who I've been loving is Ren Sinclair, who on the independent scene went as Maddie Rankowski.
Oh, she's very pretty, yeah.
But forget that because like all of them are pretty hot on NXT.
Yeah.
But she's just great. She has like Chelsea Green element where like she just does great character work. She's hilarious in all of her segments, just her like kind of like teasing around with the No Quarter Catch Crew and like she's just messing around with them. Charlie Dempsey just absolutely pissed off. He's great in his role as well.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend if you haven't caught like any of those segments where she's like, because what happened was she was trying to join the No Quarter Catch Crew and Tony D'Angelo has the Heritage Cup and he's like, I'll give you a Heritage Cup match if Ren Sinclair wins her match tonight against whoever it was, Kendall Grace, one of these NXT women. And so Charlie Dempsey has to like help Ren Sinclair win her match to then get the cup match. And then the next week, it's Dempsey versus D'Angelo for the Heritage Cup. And Ren Sinclair helps Dempsey win the Heritage Cup. I just love the combination of Dempsey's like slowly coming around to Ren Sinclair being like, hey, you're actually, not that bad. And he's still like, he's definitely the son of William Regal. So he just has that stoic look to him. So whenever he just has like a slight enjoyment on his face, it's like you get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
So I like that duo there. The No Quarter Catch Crew. Thank you for correcting me. Because I
don't even know what the name
in a million
means.
years. It means being a grappler of sorts. And I don't know. I just like I like their dynamic. And Maddie Rankowski was also very entertaining on the independent scene. She had this like social media segment she did where it was like she would do like side character interviews. She was like,
is she New York based? If you like,
her thing is like main character energy. I don't know if she's New York. She's been around like. Obviously, she's probably been all over the Northeast independent scene. So I just remember she was also on AEW for a little bit on like those dark shows. But I would always catch her like interviews on social media and they were always very entertaining. So I'm glad she could be slotted into a storyline where she has the ability to be entertaining. So shout out Ren Sinclair, shout out No Quarter Catch Crew, Charlie Dempsey as well. Definitely love the stuff they've been doing on NXT.
All right, Will, let's end the show with a top rope take. You got one?
Do I go? Oh, we're ending with a top rope. I feel like I was dishing out top rope takes.
No, let's end with one.
Do you have? It sounds like you have. So I'm going to leave the floor to you.
All right, I'll end with one with a top rope take.
Give us a top rope take, Jason. Let's go.
All right, I'll try and give you two. My top rope take for WWE, and this is a big one. My top rope take is Cody Rhodes is far more interesting in the chase than as a champion. And I think he could benefit from losing the title.
Ooh.
And my top rope take for AEW is that if Will Ospreay loses at Wembley Stadium, then I think he will have a downward trajectory from here.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't disagree with you on the second one necessarily. I think I mean Will Ospreay is going to be Will Ospreay. I think he'll be able to recover, but I think he will go down. His momentum will definitely be derailed if he loses. The Cody one's interesting. How soon do you want Cody to drop this title? Like, are you talking about he drops it to Kevin Owens next week at Berlin? Or
No, that problem is you don't know like who would be more interesting. Maybe it's not Cody's fault. Maybe it's the booking's fault. But they've had nothing for him since WrestleMania, and it's been 4 months. Um,
I think here's the thing. I don't think it's a Cody with the I just think it's hard to book a believable challenger for Cody this early into a run where he just dethroned Roman Reigns, who held the title for 1,316 days. So I just it's tough. Like, how are you gonna buy that he drops the title immediately unless you put him with a guy that I mean, there's really a few names out there. Like the only name that they could put him up against right now on SmackDown that would make me go, oh, he could lose the title is Roman. And I think they want to save that match for later.
yeah,
The only other person on the roster who I would have been like, oh, maybe they could take the title off Cody here is CM Punk, bias aside. I think if they wanted to add the edge to Punk, having him turn heel and beat Cody, that would make him the biggest heel ever. And then you could slot in that position really well. But outside of those two names, like you have to go to the part timers. And like, I don't want to see Brock come back and win the title. I don't know if I think Cena and Cody is definitely a match we're going to get next year. But again, that's going to start next year. So you're going to have to wait all that time.
Yeah.
From now until the end of the year, there's very few names, if any names, that I see being a big challenge to Cody. Unless you want to rush that Roman match, which I wouldn't be opposed to at this point if they do want to make the title scene a little more interesting and go against people like you that are saying that he's more interesting in the chase than as the champion, which I will say I do agree with because ultimately the chase is the chase is going to go down as one of the best chases in WWE history. So as a champion, it's going to be hard to live up to that kind of same expectation because it's literally like the chase is like a 40-year chase in the make. Like it stems back from Dusty not being able to win the title. So it is kind of like that's going to be hard to top. So but challenge was tough, but I also think WWE hasn't done a good job of building up anyone to be a believable challenger for Cody's championship.
Yep, I agree. All right, I think that does it for this episode here. We will see you guys next week where we'll have predictions for Bash in Berlin. We will also be talking about the fallout to All In Wembley and then essentially previewing All Out directly after. So we'll have a good episode next week. Thanks for watching with us now. Thanks for sticking with us. Again, you can find us at Real Top Rope Takes on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at jmar320 and on Twitter at jsbmarcus. Well, where can they find you?
Instagram, willie.thrill, as you can see below, and then on X at thrillyvanilli. That's with a Y at the end of both. Yeah, looking forward to this weekend, and we'll catch you all next week.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a good one. See y'all.